Previously on 13 Reasons Why. We're introduced to a high school student named Hannah Baker who recently took her own life. However, before doing so, she recorded 13 cassette tapes outlining the 13 reasons that led to her tragic end. All this unbeknownst to her grieving parents. We meet Clay, who knew Hannah both from school and from the Crestmont movie theatre where they both worked. Tony is another one of Hannah's friends who she left with the responsibility of distributing the tapes to all the people that contributed to her death. And now it's Clay's turn. Tape number 1. Hannah falls for one of the popular guys from school named Justin, and after meeting at a party, they start to hit it off. They go on their first date and Hannah experiences her first kiss. Although her dreams are swiftly shattered when an upskirt photo that Justin took spreads around the school and everyone starts to think that Hannah is easy, which makes Clay jealous and concludes reason number 1. Tape number 2, and we meet Jessica, who Hannah is forced into being friends with by one of the school's over-enthusiastic counsellors. But a real friendship blossoms and 2 becomes 3 with the addition of Alex, and the newfound trio becomes inseparable. Until Alex stops hanging out, followed by Jessica, leaving Hannah alone before she realises why. She vents to Clay, who further pisses her off, but not as pissed off as Jessica is, who thinks that Hannah caused her and Alex to break up. In present time, the popular kids try to befriend Clay, who is destined to find out their dark secrets, and they want to ensure the world doesn't find out. However, Tony comes to his rescue. Tape 3, and the spotlight now turns to Alex, who not only ditched Hannah for Jessica, but also put Hannah on a sexist list making the rounds at school. Clay and Hannah finally start to hit it off, and meanwhile Clay is tutoring a guy from school named Jeff, but his other friend Sky is getting jealous of Clay with Hannah. Hannah confronts Alex, who is one of the few who feels true remorse for what he did. Tape number 4 belongs to Tyler, who started stalking Hannah. Hannah suspects someone's watching her and recruits the help of Courtney to help discover who it is. But they get sidetracked and end up making out, and Tyler snaps the action. Hannah confronts Tyler and makes him delete the pictures, but it's too late. Present day, and Clay exacts his revenge on Tyler by returning the favour. Which brings us to tape 5, Courtney's tape, who tells everyone that the picture is of Hannah and another girl, which stokes the fires of the slut rumours surrounding Hannah. And although that friendship ends, another is rekindled as Jessica apologises for what happened between them. Jump forward in time and Clay realises that Courtney did it to keep her own secret that she's gay, before Clay gets picked up by the popular kids who try to intimidate him. Tape number 6, and it's Valentine's Day at Liberty High. Hannah takes part in Dollar Valentines, which matches students up via similar interests. Hannah befriends cheerleader Sherry, who encourages her to meet up with her top match Marcus, who shows up over an hour late to their date, and after showing up he loses his temper and leaves Hannah broken and alone once again. But one of the jocks, Zach, is nice enough to keep her company afterwards. In present time, Clay also befriends Sherry, which further angers Sky, but Sherry calls it off after thinking Clay will judge her for what she did on the tapes. Tape 7 brings us back to Zach, who asks Hannah out but intercepts the compliments that are being sent to her in communications class. Zach accidentally further upsets Hannah, who writes him a letter explaining how she feels, which Zach throws away. Or so she thought. Present day, and Clay has started losing his mind over the tapes. Not knowing what's real and what's not, he returns them back to Tony. But Hannah's story isn't stopped that easily. Tape 8, and we learn Hannah joins a poetry club where we meet the star of this tape, Ryan, who Hannah dislikes already due to him being the original creator of the sexist list, but we soon learn he's not so bad. Until Hannah writes a deeply personal poem and Ryan publishes it in the school newsletter, once again humiliating Hannah. Flash forward and Tony convinces Clay to continue the tapes, and Clay finds a copy of the school magazine and gives it to Hannah's parents. Tape 9, and Liberty's darkest secrets are about to be revealed. 3 of these secrets took place at a party Hannah attends, and later wishes she didn't. Tape 9 is Justin's second tape. At the party, him and Jessica go upstairs to be alone, but she passes out. He leaves her be, but doesn't stop his friend Bryce from entering the room and raping her, whilst Hannah looks on in horror, frozen in fear. Tape 10 occurs immediately after, and Sherry takes Hannah home, but knocks over a stop sign on the way. When Hannah goes to call the police, Sherry freaks and leaves her behind, but by the time Hannah finds a phone, there's already been an accident, killing Jeff, who Clay was tutoring, and injuring an elderly gentleman. Jump to now, and Sherry feels overwhelming guilt about what happened, and helps the elderly gentleman every week after school, but afterwards turns herself in. Tape 11, and we turn our focus to Clay, who at that same party made a long-awaited move on Hannah, who shares his feelings but is overwhelmed by her past and scares Clay away. Hannah explains she wanted him to stay even though she was saying otherwise. This destroys Clay as he realises what could have been, but will never be. In tape 12, Hannah tells us of the worst day of her life. She overhears her parents with money issues and offers to help. She then goes to deposit her parents' earnings from their family pharmacy business, but she leaves the money on the roof of her car and adds to her parents' financial stress. Hannah tries to walk off her guilt and finds herself at Bryce's house party. The party dies down and Hannah is left in the hot tub alone with Bryce. She tries to leave, but Bryce overpowers her. Hannah is now completely broken and draws a map of who's responsible for the way she's feeling. Upon hearing the tapes, Clay confronts Bryce and gets his confession that he raped Hannah, and Clay records it onto a new tape, tape 14. Tape 13, and Hannah explains that she's giving life one more try. After recording 12 tapes, she approaches the school's counsellor, Mr. Porter, as a cry for help. But Hannah isn't ready to be completely honest, and Mr. Porter doesn't realise the severity of her problems and tells her to try and move on. Hannah storms out and waits for Mr. Porter to follow. But he doesn't. Hannah recorded their entire conversation, and this becomes tape 13. Hannah is left with nothing and no one. She puts all her affairs in order, puts on some old clothes, runs a bath, and takes her own life. Clay brings Mr. Porter up to date and hands him over the tapes. Clay then sees Skye and asks her to hang out. Tony comes to the decision to give Hannah's parents a copy of the tapes. Justin enlightens Bryce that he's going to get what's coming to him. And meanwhile, Alex attempts suicide by shooting himself in the head, but is now in hospital in a critical condition. Tyler is seen hiding guns in his room and has pictures up everywhere of students that have wronged him. But everyone is left to heal. For now.